I can't apologize for nothing I did to get me here. I can't apologize for spending my whole life in your ears. I won't apologize for pimps and hoes and cocaine and weed, cause everything I just said was on the streets before me. I was born in it, walked in it to make it to school, talk shit with it and made niggas think it was cool. Ride Benz with it, a couple years I-10 with it, lost friends in it, people I will never see again in it. And people ask me how you still got love for it. For real, sometimes I hate it, I just never show it. Privacy dies and lies grow and thrive. I smile pimping cause I'm happy just to be alive.
Falling MJG, we still will remain. When the rest is acting strange, we still will remain. When the names all change, when they rearrange the game, when they don't do it the same, we still will remain. Falling MJG, we still will remain. When the rest is acting strange, we still will remain. When the names all change, when they rearrange the game, when they don't do it the same, we still will remain. Through the hate and the lies, from the bad to the good, the suburbs to the hood, knock on wood, do it all. I stood and I faced it like a champion. It rained on everything I thought needed dampening. Watch the full rise and demise of a whole era. Did I ever fold or let go? No, never. I've been through shit in life, required real bad muscle, and what I'm doing now requires real grand hustle. Now I ain't trying to say I did it alright. Several times in life I skated on thin ice, but still in cold weather I'm so hot, man. Pimp tight, MJ like a robot, man. Yeah, falling MJG, we still will remain. When the rest is acting strange, we still will remain. When the names all change, when they rearrange the game, when they don't do it the same, we still will remain. Falling MJG, we still will remain. When the rest is acting strange, we still will remain. When the names all change, when they rearrange the game, when they don't do it the same, we still will remain.
I won't walk around every day living in fear. Visine for my eyes so I can see shit clear. Words kill, uncut, straight to your vein. Words live, locked down, trying to get out of my brain. Thank God with it, like we did from the start with it. Space age pimping, nigga, grand hustle hard with it.
We did our part in it, and even though we was young and having fun, we was still coming out hard with it. This song is motivation, wrote to keep you motivated. I will no longer press you off because I know you waited. It's been a long road travel, but the trip was worth it. Kept me thankful and kept me grounded on the safe. Falling MJG, we still will remain. When the rest is acting strange, we still will remain. When the names all change, when they rearrange the game, when they don't do it the same, we still will remain. Falling MJG, we still will remain. When the rest is acting strange, we still will remain. When the names all change, when they rearrange the game, when they don't do it the same, we still will remain.
All right, welcome back to the show. It's Man of Tomorrow here. I want to thank y'all for coming through. Thank y'all for continuing to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel as well as my Patreon that I don't post all that much often. But today, we need to talk about really separating ourselves from dudes who just don't want to get right. Because there has to be an actual idea of what happens once you actually get what the Man of Spirit was supposed to give you in the first place. Like the Man of Spirit wasn't supposed to give you game enough to walk back into horrific levels of circumstances to keep practicing the same stuff that you were supposed to practice. That wasn't what the mission statement of the thing was. So what you have to realize that you can't talk about progress and then all of a sudden you're on this other stuff, and then the very thing that we shouldn't have been messing around with in the first place has now become the thing that we're all focused on. So I'm just going to put this in the direction of the actual right versus the wrong type of inclusiveness when it comes to progress. Now, I've seen this very different, varying levels within my own personal life myself, especially when it came to law enforcement, military, putting myself in different environments. There's a whole bunch of different things that just changed once the actual eyeballs and the money came in. Like when a pretty good thing to look at was the actual Iraq and Afghanistan war. A lot of people got access to making a whole bunch of money that they never would have made if that war wasn't actually going on during that era. So rather than having the idea of actually ending the actual occupation that it was too many veterans with their hands in the pot going out there and actually making sure that this stuff kept going for a very long time. Now, these same people come back to the United States, even though they was over there getting paid 200 and 300, maybe even $400,000 or $500,000 a year tax free, with their house that is completely paid off thanks to taxpayer funding them being over there. And these are the same people who's telling you right now about how they don't need the government to work for anybody else. Unbelievable. That is exactly what's going on. So it's like the type of inclusiveness that the wrong type of people who want to run the show, the people who brag about being mainstream with the manosphere, like, dude, the manosphere is not mainstream. A person, like if the manosphere was mainstream, people would have walked off from this counterpart. That's how you know the manosphere is mainstream. It's actually mainstream to actually way younger dudes. Way younger dudes don't need to be told to stay away from counterparts that don't do them no good. They're actually growing up with the idea that all options are open and on the table, and the women are going to have to compete for the best options. Now, me, Generation X, and most millennials, we didn't live through the actual system because people were told to be a hell of a lot more loyal to the actual environment than it actually required and whole. So you have to understand that the wrong type of inclusiveness started at the first beginning with the people misusing their station, and they deliberately depended on a lack of engagement to actually bolster their low quality to the point to where everybody else would just come in later on and actually deal with them later on when they had nothing and the dudes had everything. So now we want a level of inclusiveness that kind of makes people actually want to keep their mouths closed about the things that happened in the past, just so that way people can be validated in the future and we can all be on the same team. So you have to realize that most teams have a plan. Think about it. If you're, no matter what sports franchise, it's not even about keeping the best players on your team. That's one part of it. Another part of it is your front office got to be straight. Your front office still got to trade for the best people for the best positions. So that way your team can be able to win. And almost none of these teams within their local area have homegrown heroes on their team for the most part. Kobe Bryant didn't play for Philadelphia. He got traded. Like, it's rare that you're going to be a champion in a place to where you was raised at. And that's what people don't understand about the right and the wrong type of inclusiveness. You see, you have to think like a general manager. You can't think like a player that's trying to be drafted. There are two different levels of thinking that's going on there. You got one level of thinking. The player that's trying to be drafted, who's trying to, go to these trials, go to these benching events, go to these all type of events to show off your skills, while the actual owners of teams look around and they put their bid in that the people don't know that they're actually bidding on what they're actually bringing to the table, like way later on when it comes time for them to be drafted. You have to understand that most of masculinity was waited to be assigned to you by people who did not have a level and depth of loyalty to you. Think about it. A lot of these people find out that they've been traded while looking at Sports Center or on the radio. They have to jump on a plane, go work out with a new facility. They have to do that in the middle of the night. I mean, dude, I seen that with a ton of players when I was in Denver. Some of them I was in a car with. Damn, man. Damn, man. Did you know that you just got traded? That's what they just said on the radio. Are you sure? Yeah, that's what happened. Whole life turned upside down. Because, see, the owners of teams and the owners of the players, the general managers, are not held to the same level of loyalty that the players are held to. Oh, yeah, that too. When it comes to actually knowing what actual team that you are. It's gone, Doug. So it's like, if you can be traded at any point in time, which is the actual court system, they can tell you that your time's up whenever you think that you're winning or losing. Doesn't matter what the game is. They can serve your ass with that paperwork, and guess what? You got to show up to that thing with your own attorney while they got their free one on their side. So you have to understand that you have to practice a level of constant self-preservatory inclusiveness. That's the right type of inclusiveness itself. The highest form of self-love to me is asset protection. You can't possibly sit out here going out here blind thinking that you're not going to be affected by being into this marketplace. Dealing with these things that are looking for a certain type of inclusiveness right now. That's not going to work. You're going to have to build a whole brand new system without any of these people around, man. And now you're looking at the people who want to benefit the most off of a broken system, who are now trying to set the stage and the levels of how inclusiveness actually works among men when they're not men at all. You have the lifestyle fake alphas that came online, taking advantage of children who don't know any better from how real men work to actually take a shortcut because they wasn't socialized into being productive and not really actually not giving it to the wrong type of people in return. There's a system behind that. So now you got the wrong type of people trying to teach the right type of information in the wrong type of way that's going to mess those kids up. But they get such a dopamine high off of being finally accepted within the system by actually surrendering to it, to the point to where they don't even understand that they're feeding themselves into a bad system. Because to them, they got more access than they ever had before. And since this was the wrong outcome that they was always trying to reach to actually reach masculinity or a full-fledged version of it, this is the bad programming that is going on inside their head. Because their actual parents are teaching them right things, if they have two of them. And this is how these things go. So We had the wrong type of inclusiveness starting off. 80s, 90s, everybody laid down this generalized level of deference and respect for people who illegitimately produce within the neighborhoods that wasn't based on education or anything else, but it was based on selling poison to other people's families within the actual environment itself. That was the right type of inclusiveness, done the wrong way. There's a lot of people who attach themselves to that type of setup. A lot of people attach themselves to that type of setup when they clearly could have just stayed away from it altogether. What's going on, Masculine? Again, you gotta let the dudes be happy. That's the only way you can be able to fix this thing. Is that the men need to split off and the men need to be able to go and do their own thing without being encumbered by 50-year-old dudes talking to broken women or another group of 50-year-old dudes talking about body game without it. Or another 50-year-old dude inviting all these reptiles on the panels and trying to have a conversation about progress. You can't run this stuff this way. They want the right type of inclusion inside of the wrong circumstances. And that's pretty much what this system is based on. It's based on male usury, but it's based on an inclusive level of male usury. Everybody is trying to socialize everybody else into being a downfall for somebody else at some point later in the future. But the actual people who they're trying to teach this to are not even people who are younger right now. They're trying to teach it to people who are actually in their own age group. So you have people who Generation X, my generation, who's trying to teach it to younger and older millennials. And a lot of them have actually picked up this stuff for the most part. But for the people who are like 20 and below, they don't need to be taught that these things are wrong. There's enough information out there now that's going to be able to cover them. That's the deal. And that's something that people actually don't even want to hear or nor even talk about. Because you really don't see this stuff until you start moving up and trying to actually hire these people and put them on your team. Trying to give them a great shot, a chance, or opportunity to do things that they're supposed to do. You don't get to see it until you see it that way. You don't get to see it until you try to have at the school programs for kids where the kids' parents don't even show up. And this kid is actual non-conformity to a competitive environment is tied to the mother getting an extra $200 or $300 in welfare money because his child's in special ed when they don't need to be there. Again, the women shouldn't be talking to us about how decent they are. They should be showing us ratchet pelts. That's what they be showing us. They should be trying to tell us about how they feel our pain and all this stuff. They should be going all the way out there against most of these dumbass dudes and non-changed people on Black Twitter. So you have to ask yourself, where does the actual foundation start at? If it's not going to start with the older people, it definitely ain't going to start with the younger people. But the foundation has to somehow start in the middle. Foundations don't start in the middle of building a house. Foundations are supposed to be at the bottom. You're supposed to grow a foundation up. The only thing that we've grown is bitch ass niggas who don't know anything about how anything works, but they know everything about rap lyrics and stats when it comes to sports, but they don't know anything about how to get real progress out of shit. Again, When it comes to memorizing bullshit that we don't need to actually be listening to, everybody has that. But when it comes down to making any type of progress, there's no inclusiveness when it comes to making progress. And a lot of these people don't understand that they are the very people standing in the way of things moving forward because they can't let this hoe go. Can't let it go. She already let you go years ago. 50 years of letting you go. But a lot of people think that she's gonna be softened up once she hears the truth and the error of her ways. Man, like, bro, that ain't what's gonna happen here. You're trying to find a reason to surrender and betray the entire group. And you're trying to make it look like you making some type of progress in doing that signs off as real progress. It's crazy. You got to build a life without all these things around. Look at how many people who've compromised themselves within this space over the past 3 or 4 months, maybe even up to 6 or 8 months by this time. How many people who don't have the ability to produce or even make content unless they responding to something that somebody said? Still haven't picked a side when it came to politics. Still haven't picked up a newspaper or a book or a local article to find out what's happening in the actual entire country itself. Still trying to make deals with domestic reptiles and educated quiches. This is what you got. A bunch of weak ass dudes, man. A bunch of weak ass dudes who want to actually be the face of black America when it comes to progress. But no side taking, no party taking. Every time you look around, you're talking about all this other crazy stuff that don't even make any sense. When the only thing you had to do with the level of inclusiveness that you did is need to be going after a specific type of career field. When the Latinos got into Denver heavy, like in the late 90s, when I seen them making moves, they decided to take over the unloading of trucks all over the city and the actual lawn care service all over the city. Now, those people really didn't make any money all that much during that, but they turned out some very productive ass kids because they had the right type of inclusiveness. You couldn't be able to survive in that type of environment if you was a bottom feeding, bottom dwelling dude. Everything was based on work. Actually, Doug, I don't feel sorry for no motherfucker who's trying to get married. I don't give a fuck about none of these motherfuckers who end up in the family court system. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I'm not even trying to change any of that shit. I say you leave all that shit in place. Because I'd be damned if I fight for a system that's gonna have these motherfuckers going around making the same dumbass decision and choices over and over again. Like, I'm not gonna waste my time fighting for that type of thing, man. I would never fight for that type of shit. Now, if you want to fight for job training, yeah, I can talk to you. But that type of stuff, nah, man, nah. I'd rather you not even be here than be fight for ineffectual things like that. Yeah, man, but somebody has to keep the fucking light going, man. So you have to understand, man, that you're not going to be able to organize people around a failed concept or an end goal that doesn't make any sense. Let's say tomorrow that most of these counterparts who have destroyed their reproductive organs and who've been out here far longer after their actual expiration date, let's say if they all acted right tomorrow, how is that going to help you get your stuff together? You were never supposed to put her first. You're supposed to put her last. You're supposed to put the success of the group first and her last. That's how that was supposed to go. It wasn't supposed to happen any other way than that. Like these things are just not that hard. It's just that people wanted to have the right type of inclusiveness around the wrong things. People wanted to have the right type of inclusiveness around fear mongering, around dumb shit. Call themselves good at monetary policies. Don't even discuss policies that happen anywhere in the country, but they got their mouths wide open about how the president is having bad policies. When most of those policies affect dudes who look just like him, but cannot cite any of the policies that the other side is actually operating off of. Again, everybody has a lot of inclusiveness when it comes to misinforming, information peddling, and just being a dude, just an overall troll against people who are actually working on behalf of progress, but you ain't working on behalf of shit. Now you got the Tower of Maggle, the six failed subcultures of Black America, who now wants to be the voice of Black people online. How did that happen? How come they got so much inclusiveness whenever they're trying to collapse around bullshit like game and, bowing down to female nature, which they try to put themselves ahead of? Like, how did that become the voice of our space? How did that happen? Watching somebody else being on some ineffectual bullshit ain't gonna help you get your own shit together, man. That's not how that works for me. Just like how going to college for a bullshit ass education that's not actually based on any type of tangible career field, you're not going to get the same chances at a job that most counterparts get in this society. They hire those people because they know those people are not a threat to their power. They would never hire you and put you in the same position because you are a threat to their power. But a lot of this stuff you're going to have to learn at some point in time, but you're going to have to step off of. You got so many people who deliberately try to misunderstand basic principles of the law and everything else just to get an audience. It's crazy. So many people who want to deny history and abject reality just so that way they can just try to stick it to Black people who actually want some type of progress or some type of segment from their actual government. That's exactly what it is, they got. It's kind of like a movie that can't move forward, where every person who gets onto the stage is talk about a flashback to a time to where they didn't have the stuff figured out. So everybody who steps onto the field is all flashing back to a point in time where they didn't have the shit figured out. Yeah, no progress. They just want to flash back. Hey man, remember that time 3 years ago? Man, look, it's the same issues, man. Same issues, same counterpart, same everything. The progress was always going to be up to you, no one else. They were always full of shit when it came to pro black. They only pro in the sense of pro getting sex from those people, but they didn't want anything else. Other than that, they didn't want any type of better type of circumstance or anything outside of that. So they wanted to socialize into the actual victim mind state. Yeah, the actual victim mind state, as in talking about things in ineffectual ways without solutions. And they bring the conversation up to a point to where it can loop back into having the same conversation yet tomorrow. Yeah, that's what it is. Alpha your way through the book of Eli. Exactly what it is. Yeah, Manosphere, SVU. That's what it is, man. So, how are you supposed to bring together people who never produced before, ex pimps, dudes who claim they got game, unreformed criminals, dudes who believe in the fake it till you make it bullshit. You got PhDs who are attaching themselves to the culture war. You got unfeminine women trying to dress up educated Keisha like she's a decent human being. Like, dude, you got all types of goofy shit going on all in the same place. The wrong type of inclusion around the wrong type of people. Man, that's crazy, isn't it? But most of these people who claim that they're community focused and minded, they only want to help broken people. They never want to help good people be better. They only want to help good people be a little bit better, so that way they can have their position in the new world. When I was on BMT's panel, I ran into that where I heard a whole bunch of people who sounded reasonable and shit until I just walked in there and asked them what the fuck they were actually doing, and all of a sudden the the fucking Keisha Super Mario star came on quicker than a motherfucker. Because these people were always bullshitting you, man. Never listen to a woman who actually says, well, what do I need to do? Bitch, if you don't know what the fuck you need to be doing right now, then what the fuck am I even talking to you for? They're only asking you that question so that way they can find out the minimum level of shit they can do to keep bullshitting. Yes, that's a strong ass union. The decent enough woman market, oh man, that's a strong ass fucking union. It's easy. If she wasn't part of them, there would be the antithesis of their existence. Yeah, that's the point too. Because they so perfect. They're so perfect to the point to where they want everybody else to come even clean up after their motherfucking ass. So I'm just telling you, this message isn't for younger people because younger people already get this shit. This shit is for the actual what's going on, DC. This actual message is for like the people who are like 25 and up. Because the young people already get this shit. Yep. That's why I said on the show, man. Look, man, if you're 30 years old talking about community, I don't want to hear this shit. But it's like, that's all you got left now. That's all we got left now. Yeah, he sure the fuck did. He made a whole fucking live stream about it. He made a whole live stream about it. Because they wanted to bring the actual opinion of the uncultured fucking reptile right back into the mix. Yes, it's still up on the channel. But you got to realize, man, that these people are trying to minister to a broken and dead culture. They're trying to resurrect that shit out of nothing. And there's no excuses for that shit either. There's no excuses for that type of behavior among men. So when is minimum standards supposed to kick in? Minimum standards is actually supposed to kick in once all these dudes are trying to get on. Snuggles, thanks for the $5 super chat. Yeah, it's already going to happen. But it's just that the people who actually need to actually think that this shit is going to work out is the people who is 25 plus, Snuggles. That's the issue here. Because the young people don't need to see this shit. The young people got this message. It's the people who are growing up in those environments who are still trying to resurrect this bad culture that they see the people who they think they want to be at the end of their life is at. That's the actual problem. That's all it is. That's all it is, man. That's all it is. They want to grade on a curve so that way the bottom barrel men and their opinion of his counterpart can be graded on the same level as actual people who got their shit together. That's all it's about. Not leaving those people behind. That's all it's about. That's all it's about. Grading on a curve, having these 0% dudes hide behind 100% dudes so we could be 50% people. They don't bring anything to the table. It's too much inclusiveness at the bottom. Because there's already a system that take care of them already. There's no system that take care of decent black men who actually got their shit together. There's no system out there that takes care of dudes like that. Actually, people still trying to push the idea that dudes who got their shit together really ain't shit until they get the actual idea of the counterpart together. But it is a culture because it's a standard of practice behavior that has a specific type of result. That's why it's called a culture or a subculture, if you will. That's all the culture is. A practice standard that actually brings forth a specific result. That's why it's a culture. Yeah, so that's what that is. I mean, a culture is just, it's like drug culture, like all the type of things that happen around people who deal with a specific sort of thing under those circumstances. That is considered a culture. And this failed bullshit is a culture. You can track it. You can see the actual starting point of it. You can see the midpoint of it. You can see the end of it. You can see all this shit. That's why it's a subculture to itself. Hey, I wish it wasn't a culture. I wish it was something that I was just making up, but the actual results are too specific to not call it a culture around. Especially when you have such a high degree and level of people who are actually practicing the same thing as if they don't see the end result of it. Yeah, it's a culture. Oh, Marco. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the problem, man. It's just that people don't get how simple this stuff is. There is no movement to help just decent kids out here. There's not even a movement to create decent families out here. They think that the actual standard of man in society is still running up behind and trying to deal with people in this marketplace as it is. It doesn't work. The only way that it works is it works if you have a stronger culture than the actual domestic environment itself. That's the only way it is working. So I am seeing it work for other people. It's just that they're not working within the typical people who are American citizens. Now that's not working because once you start removing consequences for actions that people deliberately benefit from, that's all you're ever going to get is a specific type of result from those actions. Protected systemic failure. That's what's being created here. And this is why it's so easy to attach yourself to ignorance peddling. It's so easy to attach yourself to the culture war. It's so easy to attach yourself to information laundering. It's so easy to attach yourself to conspiratorial thought processes. It's so easy to think that your guns are going to be taken away tomorrow. It's so easy to attach yourself to all that dumbass shit. Why? It takes no intelligence. I think I was talking about this with Mike V yesterday. It's actually the actually fixing shit versus developing another code of personality. If you actually fix the problem, there's no need for a code of personality to be blooming out of these, you know, this shit that we have around here. The code of personality is nothing but the mushrooms that grows out of the feces. That's all it is. That's what the code of personality is about. The code of personality is not about trying to fix any of this shit. The code of personality is about making it look like that they got this shit under control, that that this shit is so easy to them. The only thing you gotta do is just be a dumb motherfucker, and people who don't know how to choose can choose you, and everything works happily ever after. Again, right type of inclusion, wrong type of people. What's going on, Isaac? And these things are just never going to end. I mean, these things are just still going to keep looping itself back in over and over and over again. You're going to have more and more and more of ineffectual, bitch made dudes who come to the space just stunting on shit. Why? Because stunting don't require no level of proof. It don't. The moment you provide comfort for fuck niggas and allow dudes to grow out of that shit, you don't need to bring any type of facts to the table. You can just show up, not know jack shit about nothing about what you're talking about. And a lot of motherfuckers don't follow you. Why? You provide comfort for a bunch of dumbass people, man. Dumb, stagnant, not gonna move nowhere fucking people. It's crazy. And then you got these psychopaths who come through and try to claim to be the captains of the fucking environment. I'm talking about the men and the women, period. That's a problem. That is the exact problem that we have here. And we're just seeing it at my level. Dude, I'm telling you, man, this whole thing is washed over with the same type of failure. Over and over again. Listen, man, you could draw the electromagnet over the haystack. There ain't no fucking needles in there. None. You want to be on this crazy ass shit? All right, man, that's on you. But I'm just telling you, you don't have to play this game this way. You can always do other things that make sense. Yeah. Did those people share their games with anybody back in the day? Those people who sold all that shit? Those people who were doing drive-bys and fucking gang banging and all that? Who did they do that shit for? They did that shit for their own self-benefit. inside the environment themselves. They did not do that shit for any greater good, for any greater cause, to protect anybody. They did that shit for social clout. That's what they did it for. They didn't do it for no other reason except that. This is why you have to see the cycle right now before you fall into this shit and you become 30 something or 40 something years old where there ain't no jobs out there because they're all gone and automation is happening everywhere and your ass gonna be living in the UBI zone. Of course they did. Think about 6 years ago. All these people had all this advanced information and they still being taken down by the bitch. How does that make you look? Make you look crazy. But you have to change this information that you actually receive inside as a guide to shit not to do. That's what you have to do with this information. You have to process it in a way to where, all right, man, I'm not going to have these type of outcomes. The only thing I got to do is not practice X, Y, and Z of these type of things. Again, the application is hard as fuck because you're going to have to stop this shit cold turkey, and you're going to have to put it inside your life. That's how that's going to work. You're not going to be able to run down both sides of this track. There is not enough of you to stretch alongside both sides of this track to where you can run both of these type of races at the same time. You're not going to be able to do that. At some point, you're going to have to be the standard, not them. You got to be the standard. Because most of the good things in life is all about leaving these people the hell alone and the hell up out of it. That's what standards are. Standards are all about equality across the board. It's not about bringing most of these people with you. That ain't going to work. I can guarantee you nobody is playing on the same team that Tom Brady played on in no level of sports. Nobody. That dude had to be the best of the best of the best to not only get to where he was, but to remain where he is. And you got to be the same way. This is why you're not going to be able to keep engaging in these type of things. To the point to where you're going to actually be able to just monkey branch over to a new system. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, I got to pick my aunt up at the airport in like 15 minutes. So I got to get up out of here, man. I just wanted to get by to you this very simplistic message about the right and the wrong type of inclusion when it comes to progress. Because a lot of people do not understand how that works. And the people who have their mouths open are the greatest amount of people who you should be leaving behind. And I'm going to keep telling you that you get to form this own system of yours without their help. It's really, really, really not that hard. But if you keep trying to involve these people in your life, it becomes normal to you. And then you end up stuck with them. So now you got to bring your best self to them while you're trying to still move forward. And that's not something that you need to be engaging in. But some people are going to choose to do what they want to do. I just want you to do things a little bit differently. Like I said, the younger people get this for the most part. It's the people who are 20 up who need to hear this and actually start practicing it. Because other than that, you're going to be trying to net yourself one of these domestic counterparts, and it's just not going to work out for you. So I want to thank you guys for coming through on the Man Tomorrow. Like, share, comment, subscribe. You guys have a really nice day. Peace.